Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Run It Back podcast, Australia's number one MMA podcast, self-proclaimed by myself, of course. Episode number 16, we're headed to UFC for this one again. Pay-per-view prediction podcast, UFC 246 from Vegas. And mate, it is a big one. Bigger than Romero's muscles, yes, I will say. We've got Izzy versus Romero and then Joanna versus Wei Lee. Such a big card. And boys, I am joined by none other than the Dr. Dre of the podcasting world himself. DL, how are you, my friend?
I'm not sure it's a compliment, but I'm taking it, mate. I'm taking it. Huge podcast today. Oh, it is a compliment. Dr. Dre, he's the man.
Correct. Welcome. How are you?
Thank you. Huge podcast today. Hot Take is back, which I'm excited about. Got some good feedback last week on Hot Take, so...
Have you fixed the, or not fixed, have you changed the audio for it?
Have I fixed?
I said not fixed.
I haven't changed the audio up for it. I've kept it the same. I like that nostalgic feel about it.
I'll let you roll with it.
Thank you. We've got our first guest. We've got Jay Jay Roca from the Rocked podcast. He's going to jump in and talk through the circus that is Wilder v Fury 2. We'll pick up our Substars results as well from the weekend. We've also got the main to talk about for UFC Auckland. We'll have a look at that result and we'll update the leaderboard, see how the boys have gone. Before I carry on too much, because I am a little bit excited about 248, because my boy Izzy is defending his crown. I've got the man across from me, Stoney. How you doing?
Doing great, mate. And so you should be excited. This is a huge card and a huge podcast. Can't wait to get into it.
Look out. And the other, I would say the boys still special guests. I'm going to say they're special co-hosts.
You only call them special guests when you're trying to pull them in line.
I do, yeah, exactly. Boy, today, because I'm feeling generous, special co-host number 2, Craig the Statman. How are we, my friend?
I'm doing very, very well. I was a little upset to hear that we had our first guest on. I was like, oh, come on, me and Stoney. But then I realized, you know what? That means that we're no longer guests. So that made me feel special.
All those stats are paying off. You keep working hard, buddy, and then you'll be in this chair one day.
Can't wait.
Life goals.
I'm never retiring, baby. Never putting this mic down. Back to the story.
Boys, good podcast today. We're going to get straight into it. We're going to hit us with our first segment, Hot Take. Kaikar of France, Brad Riddell, Dan Hooker. What does this do for the standing of City Kickboxing and UG Berryman after UFC Auckland?
Quickly for me, puts them on the map massively. And I think big things will come out of Auckland for the next couple of years.
Quickly for me, firmly at the top of the echelon of MMA camps, up there with American Top Team, American Kickboxing Academy and co.
Cool.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that they've got to be considered probably the premier MMA camp in the Southern Hemisphere at this point. Nova União and City Kickboxing.
Romanian MMA fighter Anna Maria Pau, holding a 2-3 record, was kicked off Survivor this week after headbutting another contestant.
Firmly for myself, I think she should have got given the immunity aisle for that. Immunity aisle, is that what they call it? I'm actually disappointed with their decision. I think it was a dude as well, so he must have been talking a bit of beef, but yeah, I think she's hard done by.
Correct. I don't know Anna Marie at all, but well played.
Could you imagine? Sorry, I'm going to cut Greg. Could you imagine trying to vote her off at Tribal Council? No, thank you.
Plain and simple, she can't get more than 2 wins in the cage, so she takes a cheap shotting someone, charge her with assault, kick her off the island.
I would have just docked her a point and then continued on.
Savage, Craig.
Agreed.
She broke his nose.
Wilder blames his 40-pound suit for his loss on the weekend.
Look, I firmly agree, to be honest. For myself, competing in jiu-jitsu a couple of times, my gi's been a bit sweaty. That's probably why I've lost, because it's been heavy and I put it on. So I blame all my losses on my sweaty gi.
Boys, the lamest excuse I've ever heard up until today was SG not being able to talk to us on a podcast because he hurt his calf. That all changed when I heard Wilder tell reporters that his walkout uniform was too heavy.
It's frankly, it's indefensible. I think that he lost the fight due to Fury just tooling him, and he's looking for any desperate attempt to kind of shift the blame away from himself.
Excellent, boys. A lot better hot take than last week. So I appreciate that. And thanks for all the research you guys did into those hot takes. Thank you.
I did none. I'm just being honest. I heard about the Fury one, the Wilder one, but other than that, see you later.
How was the Romanian survivor research? Was that
I
good?
actually did see that. It popped up in my feed for something. I was filthy about it.
Excellent. So that moves us on to our guest for today, the Rocks podcast very own Jay Jay Roca. JJ, thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Pleasure's all mine, boys. Thank you very much for having me on. Big fan of the show.
Excellent, mate. Mate, just for the listeners at home, we might run straight into tell us a little bit about yourself and your background in boxing.
So my background in boxing is a bit funny. Started off as a fight fan a little bit later. I can actually remember the day exactly. It was December 2nd, 2009. My dad took me to watch Roy Jones Jr. against Danny Green in Sydney. Prior to the lead up to that, I was watching all these Roy Jones Jr. videos on YouTube, expecting to see a legend. And he came out and the music and the theatrics, and I got goosebumps and I went, shit, I'd love to do this one day. Unfortunately, didn't go to plan for Roy that night, but I've been hooked since.
Wow, Matt, that's fantastic. That's a great introduction to the world of boxing.
Yeah, it was pretty special actually. So I'm very fortunate.
And where's that taken in your own game, in your own boxing game?
It's funny actually. Boxing is like that girl that you know is bad for you, but you just can't stay away. You know what I mean? It's like a love affair that you know no good's going to come of it, but you just cannot stay away. I've been in between wanting to fight and not fighting, and ballooning up in weight and getting super ripped, and I've just been up and down, but I think it's getting to the point where I've got some things in the sport that I want to achieve, and personal goals and dreams that I believe with my team. Hopefully this year we can get it over the line and do something special.
Yeah, well, so a potential bout.
Fingers crossed. We're heading in that direction. I mean, I've got to sit down with my team and speak properly. I'm very fortunate to have Australia's best ever fighter, Jeff Fennick, in my corner. So.
Wow.
So we'll see where it goes, but fingers crossed, and should all go well health-wise, and I get my family across the line as well. Hopefully you'll see me in the ring in 2020. You boys will have to come down and see me have a go.
Mate, we'll be there. VIP tickets, I'll be paying for them, boys, that's for sure. So JJ, mate, leading into that, obviously you got the Rock podcast with the legend himself, Mark Warren. How did that all come about?
Yeah, the voice of Australian boxing, Mark Warren. He's a legend. We had crossed paths many a times at weigh-ins and shows and everything, and he kind of sat down and said, let's grab a coffee and have a chat, and it kind of started as a friendship organically, and then it was a little idea scribbled on a piece of paper that there's potential for a podcast in terms of boxing that the Australian market probably doesn't have on a global scale coverage of boxing. And we went from there to, hey, this could actually happen, to we've got a few people interested. One thing led to another, and Mark's the ultimate professional, and with his contacts in media, he made the process seamless for me. So he said, come in, all you've got to do is watch the fights and talk a bit of rubbish, and everybody that knows me knows not shy and not far from talking a bit of rubbish anyway, and fights is what I love, so it was easy.
Hey, it sounds like you fit straight in with the family here then, because that's all they do is talk about different fights, to be honest.
So I think this is a relationship that's going to blossom.
Oh, mate, 100%. We basically just became best friends.
I love it.
So
I love it.
The body's taken off a fair bit. I see you guys just got pushed into the new and noteworthy on iTunes after you've had the man himself, Jeff Fennick, and then the man Mundine on as well. Mate, it's going from strength to strength at the moment.
Yeah, so I'm very lucky on my journey personally through boxing. I've gotten to meet some amazing people. I mean, my relationship with Jeff Fennick actually started with my father, who's in the motor industry, sponsored Jeff when Jeff was fighting. And I knew I got to know Jeff as Jeff Fennick, the bloke that my dad knows. Only later in life, when I sat down and really got into boxing, did I realize how special a man he was. It was kind of like I was starstruck later in life when I caught up with him again. So I was very fortunate to have him on the podcast, and he was so willing to come on the first one, and then obviously to have Chop on the second one as well. I mean, Mr. Entertainment himself. So we're very lucky. And then the third one was just Mark and I kind of shooting the breeze, talking everything boxing. So it was very cool.
Mate, I was partial to the Jorge Masvidal story on episode 3, mate. That was actually a doozy.
Yeah, look, I'm normally a pretty cool cucumber, but Jorge's a bit of a man crush at the moment, so it was real cool to see him.
The BMF has everyone's heart, mate. So you got to get in line, I think.
Yeah, I don't think I'm alone in the man crush.
Mate, that's a perfect little segue for us with the BMFs because Wilder Fury was on the weekend. Wilder Fury 2. Mate, I think this is your world for us. So how'd you see the lead into it? A lot of theatrics in boxing.
A lot of theatrics. I think boxing's at its best when the heavyweight division's cranking. I mean, there's no better sight, even for the casual, to see two extremely large men trade leather. And I think in terms of characters as well, it's been fantastic. You got Tyson Fury, who's obviously outspoken and has his story, and then Wilder was the perfect dance partner as well. He kind of was the catalyst, I'd say, breathing a bit of life into the heavyweight division in terms of excitement. So when you pair them up, I mean, after the first one, you couldn't not have something special in terms of the lead up for the second one. Also, it was fantastic. I mean, the lights, the celebrities that it attracted, the spotlight it put on the sport of boxing was incredible.
Yeah, and it went the 7 rounds. How'd you see those 7 rounds?
Well, look, leading up to the fight, I heard a few different stories from my friends in the States. One guy that trains in the same gym as Tyson said, put money on him to stop Wilder. He goes, he's going to knock him out cold. Wow. I went, all right, no worries. And then I had another mate that's in New York that was telling me that Tyson Fury hurt his ankle. He couldn't do the road work, and that's the reason why he's fat. He didn't take his shirt off at the weigh-in. So It was all over the place. My pick was Wilder by knockout after an early Fury onslaught. Yeah. I thought Fury was going to box him, run out of steam, and Wilder was going to stop him with that touch of death that he has in the right hand. But boy, was I wrong. Fury just jumped on him and just obliterated him.
He was a man possessed. He looked great. He looked really, really good. For a man that's calling that he feels like he's done everything in the sport, he's still got the energy.
Yeah, exactly. And I think sometimes the elite fighters, and I think this is the case with John Jones as well, I think they fight to the level of their opponent. Yeah. So when you've achieved as much as you have, to be able to get out of bed for, say, a run-of-the-mill opponent is a little bit harder. But when you know you got that dance partner that, you know, you make a mistake or you cut a corner in camp that you're going to pay on the night, it really gets them up. And I think that's what we saw out of Fury.
And what do you see now from both of these fighters? Where to?
Well, today I heard Deontay Wilder had an interview with Yahoo Sports, and he said that he's definitely going to be exercising his rematch clause. So I'd say immediately we'll see the rematch between Fury and Wilder. We'll see the final fight of the trilogy. I personally can't see it going a different way than it did, but I think the real fight that the world wants to see is Fury Joshua, and I'd say that needs to be done in Wembley.
Oh, that'd be a massive fight.
Oh, mate, that'd be huge.
Oh, huge.
That's a big. Even the third fight's a huge payday for the boys, and that's an even bigger one. Wembley Stadium sold out. That's huge. Pay-per-view numbers will be through the roof.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's gotten to the point now where it's kind of been a process of elimination. They've weeded out the pretenders from the contenders, and I'd say your best two are unequivocally Joshua and Fury. So I'd say that they've got to get it on next.
Does Joshua want that fight?
I believe, in all honesty, I know it seems that a lot of fighters duck each other. It's all management. Yeah. From a fighter's perspective, I don't think there's any fighter that competes professionally in any combat sport that says, I don't want to fight him. I mean, you've got to be a little bit of a lunatic to jump in there anyway. So to say that you don't want to test yourself against the best and have the chance to get all the spoils is crazy to me. So I think Joshua definitely wants it. I think the question is whether Eddie Hearn wants it, because Eddie Hearn, I think, tends to err on the side of caution a little bit with Joshua. But if it was up to Joshua, I'd say he would have already fought Wilder and Fury for that matter.
I guess for me, looking at that, just thinking about the story for Tyson Fury, like he's come from absolute just rock bottom. And I saw it the other day that he posted a tweet, I think it was in 2013, that he said he was going to knock out Wilder, and everyone sort of bagged him out, and he's come full circle and done it. What would it feel like for a boxer?
The thing, mental illness is no joke, right? And I think with Tyson Fury, he's become the face of this this movement where it isn't weak to speak anymore. It's something that is real, and a lot of fighters during their career and a lot of time after struggle with the issues that come with the shots to the head or not getting that adrenaline rush that they did for fight camps. And Fury was suicidal. So to go from suicidal to the best heavyweight on the planet in 3 years or however long it was incredible. I don't think anyone can even almost relate to the mindset or the willpower that man has. I mean, he says he does have obsessive compulsive disorder, and I'd believe it too. I mean, he's just an absolute animal in camp, but he's always 100. He's either all into the drugs and alcohol or all into the camp. I really hope for Tyson that in between and after boxing and in between fights that he can really get his head right and be in a good place for him, because he's an incredible character for the sport.
Mate, agreed. Crazy story too. So, mate, I was actually happy to see him get up, but the third fight should be an absolute banger. Fingers crossed we all get Fury Joshua at the end.
Yeah, that's the plan.
But leading the big fights, I know you're a little bit of an MMA fan. Do you follow it much?
Yeah, I do. I actually watch it all the time. I'm a combat sports nut.
Cool. So that should lead us in pretty easy. We're doing our prediction pod at the moment, as you know. We've got a big fight coming up with Izzy versus Romero. How do you see it going? What's the pick for the fight and the finish?
I got to roll with my boy Izzy. I mean, that Anzac tail is strong. I think, contrary to what I think many people believe, I think Izzy's anti-wrestling will be shown that night. I think it'll be a systematic and precise dismantling, and I think Izzy's going to stop him in the third.
We love that pick, mate. We love that pick.
What do we reckon, Jen?
Well, you love that. He's your boy.
Mate, he's my boy.
I'm still trying to pick how old Romero is.
Yeah, well, that's the tough.
400 bigograms through the roof.
Yeah. I'm interested to see when his contract with UFC expires and he goes to China or ONE FC, gets back on the Mexican supplements, and he's a 60-year-old heavyweight champion, I'm sure, fighting abroad.
He can't get any bigger, surely.
No, he's just a genetic freak. Like, you want to talk first team all body, surely Romero gets the gold medal.
Oh, mate, 100% on mine.
And before we let you go, is there someone in the local boxing scene that's coming up that we should be keeping our eye on?
Definitely. There's a few names actually. Number one on the list, I'd say, would be Brock Jarvis. Brock Jarvis trains in the Fennec camp and he's world ranked at super bantamweight at the moment. He's actually fighting the 21st of March in Sydney. So that's a real good show. He's the hardest worker in Australian boxing, in my opinion, and an absolute freak, very well spoken, very marketable, and I believe will be the face of boxing for years to come. And also on that card, there's another boy out of the Fennec stable as well named Hassan Hamdan. His father was an Australian boxing legend. He'll also be on the Brock Jarvis card in Sydney as well. He's 1-0 as a pro and very, very fresh and green, but he's an excitement machine as well. So look out for the names Brock Jarvis and Hassan Hamdan.
17-0, 15 KOs. Boy can't fight.
Yeah, he's a freak, an absolute freak, that kid.
JJ, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it. Do you want to give the podcast a bit of a plug?
Yep, absolutely. So follow us on Instagram at Rocked Podcast. Follow me on Instagram at Jay Jay Roca. That's JayJayRoca. And tune in and make sure you listen to this podcast as well, because these boys are taking over the MMA game.
Yes, boy. Love it. Love it. Mate, we'll be looking forward to that fight announcement in a few months maybe.
Awesome, gents. Thank you very much.
So now we're going to jump into the recap of the events over the weekend, since we all had picks in those. We got the Substar event from Miami, and we also had the main event for UFC Auckland. Snagz, I think I'm going to hand this over to you since this is your world.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. So Substar, we obviously had a little bit of a disappointment in there with the Keenan fight getting pulled out, but we did have three that we picked. A couple of the boys were a bit filthy. They didn't get their bonus pick to even get off the ground, but we had Felipe Andrew over Patrick Guido, submitted him via footlock. Cyborg beat Bell via overtime in points, so advantages.
I think everyone except Craig had that one.
Yeah, agreed. That's very awkward for you. And then boys, obviously, one I was very excited about and one I was extremely confident about. Gordon the King Ryan, the man himself, submits Aaron Tex Johnson via arm triangle. So the King reigns supreme again, boys, and I am no doubt about it. That will be for the next several years. But it was an awesome match to watch, and it was actually great to see him get the win again. And then as we went into UFC, what a fight. Oh my God, boys. I remember on the group chat just being, I had goosebumps watching it, but Hooker wins via split decision. Quick thoughts on it, boys. Should have been the hot take.
How's the boys all wrapped up in the hospital beds, ready to jump in the ambulance at the end of the fight? That is
You love to see that,
war.
though.
It's just great. Fists together they were, and they were ready to go. And I think the little quote, we put it up on our Insta, is "Do you want a race?" from Paul Felder, which is, just shows the fight and the man. But we don't know what's going to happen with Paul Felder, actually, because he did talk about that could be his last. So, mate, I thought it was a really doozy fight, and I loved it.
Yeah, mate, agree. But at the end, just the professionalism from both the boys. I know they had a fair bit of banners throughout the lead up, but what a fight, what an ending. And then you can just see two champions leave the ring.
How'd you see it, Stoney?
Look, I actually didn't see it. I had a prior commitment, so I was following our group chat. You'll recall that I was pestering for updates. Was hoping that Felder got the close call, but in the end it went the other way, and credit to Dan Hooker. He's a fan favourite of the Run It Back podcast, so all the credit to him.
He loves it. Kragos.
Super close fight, super tightly contested fight. Actually, on the fly scorecard, I had it for Felder. Unlike my recent UFC headliner, John Jones.
We should start how many podcasts in a row is the Statman
I wasn't
going to mention
super salty about it. I could see the fight going for Hooker, unlike the John Jones fight. And so I wasn't. And also, like, you love to see two guys go to war and shake and respect each other after it.
DL, I'm just going to cut in. If the Statman's still talking about that John Jones fight come International Fight Week in July, you need to sit him down and pull him into line.
I probably will be. I'm not going to lie. Dominic Reyes was my pick for UFC light heavyweight champion by the end of 2020, so I'm a little bit salty as well.
And that rounds out our scorecard, the Substars and Hooker v Felder. So I'm still holding the lead here, boys. So I'm on 22. I picked up 3 wins. So there was 2 out of the Substars event, and we got the Hooker Felder. Snagz was hit the 3 as well, so he moves up to 19. Kragos drops back another one.
Could not afford that either.
And that's a bad loss, mate. So he's got 14, and Stoney rounds us out with a 20. So
no, I did correctly pick the sumo wrestling fight. I noticed you didn't put that one in there.
I did too. No.
Yeah.
Look, boys, I don't want to instill another runner back court after last podcast, but just to correct everyone, Stoney's actually on 19 points, still equal with me.
Oh, really?
Who are you taking to court, me or the man who added them up? Am I going to be found guilty? Is that one going to go to air or not?
3, 6, 9, 12. Yeah, no, it's 19.
He's correct.
It's 19. I don't know where the 20 was, mate. This is a spreadsheet. So
Scandal.
Boys, what we might do now is move into the card for UFC 248 from Vegas. Craig, do you want to kick us off with the first fight?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've actually promoted one of the fights from the prelim card up to the main card as well, for reasons that might become apparent once we know what that fight is. The first fight officially on the Suga Snagz card is the Sean O'Malley versus Jose Alberto Quinones. Guys, on March 3rd, 2018, Sean O'Malley won his second UFC fight, as well as his 5th in under a year to move his record to 10-0. In the 735 days since that fight and this fight, he hasn't fought once in the octagon. Before that, his longest gap in his entire career was 149 days between 2016 and 2017.
Craig, how do you see the fight going?
Ring rust aside, I can't see Quinones offering too much of a challenge. I think Sugar Sean is ridiculously marketable. They've put him in a marketable spot as the feature preliminary fight. I think it should pay off for them. I reckon Sugar Sean O'Malley should take this one.
Stoney?
Yeah, Sugar Sean takes the decision in this one. However, a loss for O'Malley this weekend and our very own Suga Snagz would turn into a very salty snag. So I look at it as win-win. I'm either going to get a tip or get a salty Snagz, and either way, I'm pretty happy.
No one likes
You love a salty snag, don't you?
No one likes a salty snag.
I could warm to it.
So bad.
We'll go on to my pick. I'm also taking Sean O'Malley, or as we like to call him here in the podcast, the OG Mad Dog. Salty Snag needs to settle down a little bit. The OG Mad Dog at 10-0. I think he's looking the goods. The thing I don't like about this fight, I don't like it's only $1.35 on Sportsbet, but that's just me.
Was he only paying $1.35?
Yeah, it's short. Snags.
Going to tell him up. But from Suga Snagz himself to another Sugar Sean, my bet is firmly on Sean O'Malley. Boys, not a Craig Stats, but a Snag stat, I guess, if you boys didn't know. O'Malley actually come 8th in the Fortnite World Cup recently this year while he was taking some time away from the octagon, and I don't see him coming 8th in this fight because there's only 2 people. See him coming first, boys. Taking away the win easily.
Excellent.
We move on to the first fight on the main card. Cowboy Alex Oliveira versus Max Griffin. I say Cowboy in MMA. Obviously, most people think that it refers to Cowboy Cerrone. Cowboy Oliveira actually had his nickname longer than Cowboy Cerrone, and he shares a bit more than just a name in common with Cowboy Cerrone. Alex racked up his first 18 MMA fights in under 4 years and fought 5 times in a calendar year, as well as 6 times in 365 days to begin his UFC career, until he ran into Cowboy Cerrone, essentially, lost by submission, and then slowed down, but not by a huge amount. He still fights several times each year. As far as the pick for the fight, he's on a 3-fight skid. I don't think that he should still have enough to take on Max Griffin. I'm picking Cowboy Oliveira. I think that he has enough tools and enough big fight experience to get past Max Griffin in this one.
And I'm with you, Statman. I think Oliveira's got a crazy submission game. I'd be astounded if he dropped this one. I'm picking a round 2 submission to Cowboy.
Max Griffin for me, I don't know if I've ever really been convinced of Alex Oliveira, and especially I look back at the Mike Perry fight, and there was even moments of that where he's sort of real hesitant in that fight as well. So I'm hoping that it's going to go Max's way. So I'm taking Max.
Boys,
Snags.
I'm going to go with Alex for the win, to be honest. The odds are obviously in his favour, but I see the victory going his way and a point coming to Snags.
Next fight on the card, Neil Magny's fighting Jingliang Li. If you take the average UFC welterweight, they stand roughly 5'9" tall with a reach of about 73.5 inches. Yes, I crunched the numbers. Neil Magny stands 6'3" and has a reach of 80 inches. So he's the same height as Brock Lesnar, and he has 1 inch less reach, and he fights nearly 100 pounds lighter than Brock did in his prime. For comparison, Jingliang Li is 6 foot tall and only has a 72-inch reach, so we should see that come into play. As far as my pick, I've been a long-time Neil Magny fan. I think he had a fight, I believe it was Ghassan Umalatov, and he looked like a potential title contender in about 5 years' time. I think Jingliang Li should take it. Just make sure that he keeps his fingers to himself. I did tell the boys to have a look at the eye poke in the Jake Matthews fight, where he dug his fingers into Jake Matthews' eye. And kept them there for a good long while. So hopefully the fight's a nice clean one, but I reckon Jingliang Li should take it.
Yeah, it's an interesting fight. Neil Magny's one of those fighters that all his training partners say that in the gym he's one of, if not the best to ever do it, but he just hasn't translated that in the octagon at this stage. I think he's 21-7, Statman, correct me if I'm wrong.
I believe so.
And I think I'm going with him on this one. I've just got a hunch. And so Neil Magny for me, and I think it's going to be a decision.
Yeah, for me, the Leech himself has a video that the UFC put out that says top 5 knockouts. I watched those. It aroused me. I feel like I've got a little bit of house money on my bets, being the clear leader. What was the new numbers? It's 3.
By 3.
Yeah.
So you're playing it safe from now?
I'm playing I'm playing with house money.
Okay.
So I feel like I can roll the dice a little bit. So I'm taking Lee.
Okay.
The Leech.
The favourite.
Let's go. Yeah, but you guys have all gone. You guys have all gone the other way.
I went Jingliang Li.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was too wrapped up in my own picks. Snags.
Awkward. Boys, I'm going to firmly back the Leech as well. Looking at the record, he obviously had his last 3 fights. 3 wins, TKO, KO, and by decision. Neil Magny, I'm a big fan, but I think Lee's going to get it done, boys.
Perfect. Benil Dariush is fighting Drakkar Klose. Drakkar Klose, he wrestled in high school and he moved to North Idaho Community College before expanding out into the world of MMA. Among the notable alumni from North Idaho College Brian Caraway, Kelvin Gastelum, Trevor Prangley, Mike Whitehead, and Ian Heinisch, all UFC fighters, and they all studied there at one point or the other. So it seems like if you want like an out-of-the-way, unassuming place to go to community college, if you want an easy path into the UFC, North Idaho Community College is the way to go. Pick for this one, Beneil Dariush should take it. His submission games, his ability to finish fights. He's been in the cage against some of the top names in the division. Yeah, I can't see it going the other way.
Let's just keep this one short and sweet. Dariush finishes this submission very early in the fight. Snagz.
It's me.
You're throwing over to me, big brother. You're trying to pronounce names over here.
Close to me as well. He's the smaller man, but he does have win against bigger and longer opponents. So I don't think that's affect him too much. So close to me. It is now your turn, Suga Snagz.
Who'd you pick?
Close.
Oh, close. I thought you just said it was going to be close. I was like, of course it's going to be close. It's a good fight, but who are you picking?
Isn't that his last name?
Sorry, my fault.
Yeah.
Absolute basket game tonight, boys.
Sean's still trying to work out how to say it.
Poor
And he's
JJ's going to get to this point and wonder what he's got himself into.
Mate, if he's listened to any others, you know that I'm like this in every potty anyway. So, boys, won't be going for a close fight. I'll be going for a Dariush fight. That's for sure. 'Cause that's my picking. Both boys coming off a 3-fight win streak. But I think my boy Dariush will get a submission win for me. So I'm going to pick him and hope it's not close.
Co-main event, looking for the UFC women's strawweight fight. We've got Weili Zhang versus Joanna Jędrzejczyk. So somewhat unusually, Weili Zhang lost her pro debut by decision. She's gone on a 20-fight tear since then. Other UFC champions who have captured UFC gold after losing their very first fight, Carlos Newton, Andrei Arlovski, Forrest Griffin, and Henan Barao. Henan Barao is actually kind of similar because he went on, I believe it was a 33-fight win streak after he lost his very first fight. You can also include Kazushi Sakuraba in there as well because he won a UFC tournament at one point before they were doing belts. As far as my pick, I think Zhang's yet to finish a fight on US soil. I think she takes this fight, and I think that she gets her first finish on US soil in this fight. I'm taking her by TKO. I would say at the end of the first, but I'm just going to round it out with TKO in the first round, just so I don't lose any points.
Keep it vague, man. Keep it vague.
Stoney. Maybe so vague with my pick.
Stoney.
DL, coming here tonight, I didn't even have my prediction ready for this one. I'm genuinely torn, and I think I'm leaning with the Statman. But I just want to get some advice from you. Obviously, you turned your back on Joanna against the karate hottie.
No, I never said that.
I believe you went on Michelle Watterson. I just want some advice. How do you cope not tipping it? Because I'm about to do that, and I'm just worried about the ramifications.
If I cast my mind back to that, I thought who had more on the line and who would I like to see with that win, and it was Michelle at the time. But my heart is with Joanna.
Yep.
But I was praying for it. So I don't know how you're going to get through it.
See, my heart's firmly with Joanna still, and that's what makes it tough. And I look at this leaderboard and I think I've got to stop picking with the heart and start picking with the head because I'm just not catching you with the heart. Zhang for me as well. Round 2 finish. Joanna hasn't had a finish since 2015, and I think that's worrying. She's got the intensity, the volume, but on the other side, there's a really dangerous fighter, and I think that takes care of Joanna.
Did you have something to add there?
Oh, I just thought it was really cute how he said that he couldn't get you with the heart.
As Stoney alluded to, Joanna has been deep in my heart once before, and I only slipped that one time. Michelle Watterson, I felt deserved a win, but my queen is back.
Rightful heir to the Iron Throne, rightful queen of the Andals and the First Men, protector of the Seven Kingdoms, the mother of dragons, the Khaleesi of the Great Grass Sea, the Unburnt, the breaker of chains. I was born to rule the Seven Kingdoms. And I will.
Sentence you to die.
Joanna is back. My queen is here. My queen is back. My queen is coming for a belt.
I feel inspired. I want to change my tip now.
Look out. That's all I can say.
You have to
Snagz.
pick the finish.
Oh, that's right. It's probably a decision, Joanna. It's going to go. Sorry?
So probably or is very vague of you right now.
Mate, it will be a decision. I think Joanna's going to overwhelm him with strikes. So when you look at significant strikes at the end of this match, there's going to be quite a gap. Joanna, decision all the way. Snagz, what do you got, bro?
Look, I would on this fight request my Titanic music, but I hear I've been banned, so I shan't be doing it.
Yep.
Boys, I am going to, honestly, absolute crazy fight. It is going to be super close. I think my pick goes with Wei Lee, to be honest. It is hard to say that. I know I'm breaking hearts right now, DL. I'm sorry, but if you have a nickname, Magnum, I can't go past you because I love them ice creams and I love this fight as well, boys. But to look at it, I'm going to say TKO round 3. I think she's going to get it done. She's going to stay on top. And I don't know, and I'm sad to say it, I don't know if Joanne is going to match her, unfortunately, boys. So I'm going to go Wei Lee. 3rd round TKO.
Can I just point out that is 4 straight fights where DL's gone the lone man. He has a chance to really run away from this, but 4 straight fights now where he is the only man to go, only dissenting opinion.
Leaders aren't born in the backyard, buddy. Get out of it.
Daniel.
Let's go.
Daniel.
That's leadership. It's an original quote too, boys. Get on it.
Well, you're the producer of the pod.
Breaking news with Stoney.
Boys, off the top, I just want to let you know that being the number 1 newsbreaker in the MMA world is a tough gig. I get a lot of tweets from aspiring journalists all over the country asking for my advice on how they can one day become an elite reporter for MMA. And I tell them to do one thing. All you need to do is log on to Brett Okamoto's Twitter, see everything that he's doing, and proceed to do the complete opposite. Exhibit A. At 8 a.m. this morning, Australia time, Brett reported... Breaking, and you guys are going to think this is a setup and I'm making this up. I kid you not, this is a direct quote. Breaking, UFC bantamweight champ Henry Cejudo, aka Triple C, will defend the title against featherweight GOAT Jose Aldo at UFC 250 on May 19 in Brazil. Now, Brett, I don't know about you, but I think we must have a different viewpoint on what the term breaking means, because as far as I'm concerned, we broke this one 39 days ago on the Run It Back Twitter feed.
39 days.
You recall in the last episode, I gave a shout out and said for those who want to stay up to date with yesterday's news, start following. For those who want to stay up to date with last month's news, start following at Brett Okamoto on Twitter. And now, just on that, if you're going to break a story 39 days later, at least get the day right, because it was May 9 and not May 19 as per his report.
Brett Okamoto, he's probably got the power to shut this podcast down.
Change the segment to breaking feuds with Stoney.
As for this week's episode of Breaking News with Stoney, I can confirm without a shadow of the doubt that the UFC is working on an absolute doozy of a matchup between our very own, the notorious Conor McGregor and Justin Gaethje. And Statman, I know you're all around this one. You called it a few weeks back. This is a fight that everyone wants to see, and I'm led to believe that discussions are firmly in the works for International Fight Week, UFC 252.
Should Dan Hooker not have called out Gaethje then?
I think Gaethje's probably maybe even one step up. I think Dan Hooker's right in the time pace to be able to call like the top five to. Where's Dan Hooker ranked now?
Well, he was 6 fighting a 5th. He was 6 fighting a 5th rank. So you'd think that'd swap.
You'd think that he'd put him into 5th, yeah. I don't know. Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier. I think Dustin Poirier versus Dan Hooker would be an absolute banger of a fight. And I think Justin Gaethje versus Conor McGregor makes all the sense in the world. If Conor is serious about going back after Khabib, if he wants to go for his 3rd title in welterweight, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So that leads me to believe that he's looking to challenge Khabib by the end of the year. The fight's just going to be violent. It's just going to be beautiful and violent. I'm so excited for it.
Just want to add one piece. We haven't heard anything from Conor's camp after Cowboy, and that leads me to believe that he's in the gym busy cutting weight as a backup should either Khabib or Tony not get up for Brooklyn.
Don't say those words. I can't wait for that fight.
I can't wait for that fight, but it has to be said.
Why can't Dustin fight McGregor? Like, that's a good fight. Get the second one. Get a trilogy out of that. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I'd watch that fight at lightweight. I'd watch that fight. Happen again and again. I just think, who would you consider a bigger name at this point, Justin Gaethje or Dustin Poirier?
Yeah, well, I think Gaethje's been out of it for too long. His name gets brought up a lot, but when's the last time we saw him fight?
I suppose.
No. Like if you can't think of it straight off, it's a while.
Yeah, look, we've heard him crying quite a bit over trying to get a fight with Conor McGregor, so he might finally get his wish. Look, that's going to be a great fight if it does come up. I agree that Poirier-McGregor, there's a sentimental element to that one as well. But either way, we know something big's coming for Conor just around the corner, so we're just waiting to see what that is. Just quickly, some other hot take news. UFC is back to Australia for UFC 251 in June over in Perth. And a fight that I'm really keen for, the sweetest girl on the UFC roster, Bad Mofo Jojo, gets her shot at stopping the Bullet. What do we think?
I think the Bullet walks through this.
I love Joanne Calderwood. I think she's absolutely fantastic. I think she's got a career recording audiobooks later with that accent. I think Valentina Shevchenko absolutely mauls her. I think I saw that she was at a plus 800 underdog for this fight, and Valentina's a minus 1200 favorite. And I think, if anything, those odds might be a little bit generous towards Jojo.
Shevchenko's improving every fight, and it's ridiculous.
In saying that, Jojo's 3-1 in the last 4, which, I mean, there's like 5 or 6 fighters going for UFC titles that have a worse record than that, including our main event coming up. But then Jose Aldo's lost his last 2. Max Holloway's 1-2 in his last 3. Joanna is 2-3 in the last 5. So, I mean, record alone, people always talk about Jojo coming off a loss and then a split decision win. It's kind of par for the course at this point. I just think, who else do you chuck at Valentina Shevchenko?
I don't know. Maybe it comes from out of the UFC.
Maybe, or maybe Amanda Nunes 3. That's maybe the only thing that they can do at this point.
I think inevitably that has to happen. At some point, we all just get bored of Valentina running through the entire division, and I think that's what we're seeing with this fight. You're spot on. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I think she's just beaten everybody else that who else do you give a shot to? Jojo's right there in the waiting. She's got a good following. I think it makes sense for the here and now, but I firmly agree. We're heading towards a Shevchenko and Nunes trilogy fight.
UFC middleweight champion Israel Adesanya is fighting Yoel Romero. The last time Yoel Romero made weight and won a fight was on Conor McGregor Eddie Alvarez card 3.5 years ago. Since then, he's fought 4 times, lost 3, and made weight only twice. The one fight he won, he missed weight by 2.5 pounds and was ineligible for the title that was on the line that night. In fact, he's had 3 title fights so far in the UFC and only made weight for 1 of them. Hopefully not a foreshadowing of what's to come.
It's vicious.
Didn't he fight Luke Rockhold?
Yeah, missed weight for it.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Hates money.
And then they gave him a title fight after it against Robert Whittaker, and he missed weight for that as well.
Just keeps handing back 30% of his pay.
For title fights too. That's a good purse to be. It's a good time to. Or I'd never say it's a good time to fight Yoel Romero, but if you're going to fight him, you might as well hope that he misses weight so you get an extra pay out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Craig, how do you see the fight going?
I'm torn on this. I love Yoel Romero. I think he's a freak athlete, and I think he presents a lot of new dangers that Adesanya has yet to face. But I pick Adesanya. I went against him on the Whittaker card, and I mean, I shouldn't have. Like, looking at it, I think Adesanya is a rare fighter, and he is what he talks himself up to be, which is rare in the fight game. So I think that Adesanya takes it by decision. I think it's going to be a brutal fight, and I think Yoel Romero is just weird enough in his approach that we're going to see Adesanya in trouble. But I think Adesanya should do enough to take at least 3 of the 5 rounds.
Stoney.
Statman, I'm with you, and I certainly call Whittaker as well, and I have to live with that. But I do so comfortably because I did think Rob was going to take that fight. I was proven wrong, and sometimes you just have to admit that. DL and myself were over at UFC in Perth when Romero missed weight and knocked out Luke Rockhold. But knocking out Luke Rockhold cancelled everything out and cheered everyone up. So that was a good result for the boys. I'm betting on Israel for this one. I think he's the future. Romero, it's his last hurrah. It's certainly the last title shot. He, in my eyes, didn't deserve. And at 42 or 43, having failed in multiple attempts, I can't see Izzy being the man to succumb to Yoel Romero. So I'm picking Izzy by TKO round 4.
Boys, it's pretty obvious, but let me just take you back. Just kidding, Snagz. Just kidding, bro. Wouldn't steal you a bit. Wouldn't steal you a bit. But, mate, it's pretty obvious. Israel Adesanya for me as well. The man is an absolute freak. I don't care how big Romero is. He could put on another 20 pounds. Adesanya's still taking him down. I'm going to be bold. Everyone's pushing around these decisions. Mate, it's a second round knockout. Boom. He's too sharp. Izzy's too sharp. He aims, he fires, he knows what he's doing with those hands. I think there could be a little bit more kickboxing in this fight too, as Romero will try to wrestle a little bit more, I think. So I think you might see a possible head kick round 2, boys.
Ooh.
Suga Snagz.
It's been a very difficult situation, boys, and I don't know if I want to be in that one. I had my pick ready to go, and the 3 picks that have gone before me have nearly swayed my opinion just to go against you boys because I despise you all massively.
You know that's not true.
No, it's not true. It's a joke. Boys, I'm going to get on the run it back train for this one and sacrifice myself to try to go ahead in the lead through I would say a Hail Mary pick. DL play my music. No, I don't need it. I'm only joking. I'm going to pick Izzy, boys. I'm hopefully going to pick up this bonus point. I don't think it's going to go to a decision. I think he's too sharp, like DL said. I think he's going to get a round 3 TKO. But, boys, I'm actually a little bit scared about this one. Romero is an absolute monster. Says he's only 42, probably about 400, and has the wisdom of Gandhi and Donald Trump joined together. And that is a dangerous, dangerous thing, boys. So I'm a bit nervous for the fight, but it's going to be an absolute banger. But I'm gonna pick Izzy with round 3 TKO.
I don't know anyone that's used Gandhi and Donald Trump in the same sentence to pump up someone.
That's how wise he is.
I don't know why he was the second person that comes
On the upside, Colby Covington's now following Run It Back, so cheers, Snagz.
Anytime. Gonna get Trumpy on the podcast. Get your boys to the White House.
Boys, that wraps up episode 16. If you like what we're doing, hit us up on all our socials. Please like, share, comment, subscribe to the podcast. We really appreciate it. It helps us build the right content. We are continuing to take questions for our Q&A podcast, and we're working hard to bring you guys some more great guests in the coming months. Boys, that is episode 16 wrapped up. My name is Daniel.
I'm Snagz.
My name's Craig.
And my name is Stoney.
And we'll run it back with you boys next time on the Run It Back podcast. We out. I'll put that in later.
Baby.
Oh, I'll play that later. Oh, no, wrong one.
And my wife without the intro.
Here we go.
Oh, yeah. This is like GTA.
Yeah.